Hello, I'm Ethan. I'm 24. A simple guy, straightforward, sometimes impulsive, but always there when you need a hand. I live just outside of town in a modest little apartment where the most exciting part of my week is usually fixing a leaky faucet or helping a neighbor move furniture. Nothing spectacular, but it's a life I'm okay with. My best friend Mike often jokes that I'd rush into a burning building just to help someone find their lost keys. He's probably not wrong. Mike is one of those friends you meet once in a lifetime. We've been inseparable since middle school, and by now his family feels like mine. That includes his mom, Julia. Julia's 42, beautiful in a quiet, gentle way. She's the kind of woman who could walk into a room without saying a word and still be the center of attention. It's not just her looks, though. They're impossible not to notice long dark hair that she usually ties back in a loose ponytail, eyes that carry both warmth and a hint of sadness, and a smile that somehow makes you feel everything's going to be okay. But it's her kindness and her sincerity that stick with me most. Julia's been divorced for a few years. Mike doesn't talk much about his dad, and Julia doesn't either. But I can always sense the quiet loneliness around her. There's something about the way she moves through life, graceful and self-contained, that makes me think she's looking for someone genuine, someone who can really see her, someone who won't leave. When Mike first asked me to join their hiking trip to Pinner Mountain, a well-known but manageable trail outside the city, I hesitated. It was supposed to be just him and his mom. "Come on," he'd said, laughing it off. "Mom likes you. She won't mind at all. Plus, if I have to listen to her talk about yoga classes and organic food the whole time, I'll lose my mind." So I agreed. I told myself it was just a casual hike, nothing more. On Saturday morning, we packed the car and headed out. It was early, the sky clear, and the roads quiet. Mike drove chatting away about basketball playoffs and some movie he'd seen. Julia sat in the passenger seat, occasionally glancing back at me with a smile as we talked. She asked me about work and whether I'd managed to fix my shower head yet, remembering something I'd mentioned weeks ago. I felt a bit surprised, but mostly happy she remembered. When we reached the trail, Mike grabbed his backpack stuffed with sandwiches and water bottles. Julia checked her shoes, tightened her ponytail, and took a deep breath of fresh air, smiling softly. "Ready?" Mike asked, looking between us. Julia nodded enthusiastically. "Absolutely. It's been too long since I got outside like this." As we began walking, the path was gentle, winding slowly upwards through thick trees and patches of sunlight. Mike soon pulled ahead, lost in his music and moving quickly. Julia and I trailed slightly behind, matching pace naturally. We talked lightly initially about the weather, the hike, and our favorite outdoor spots. But soon the conversation shifted to more personal things. Her work, her new hobby of painting watercolors, her worries about Mike finding his way after college. I found myself opening up too, sharing little things about my dreams, my struggles with finding direction in life, and my tendency to jump into things without always thinking them through. Julia laughed softly at that. "Sometimes impulsiveness isn't a bad thing," she said, glancing at me. "It's good to be brave enough to act when it matters most." Her words lingered in the air, comforting yet stirring something inside me. The higher we climbed, the narrower the path became, turning rocky and uneven. I noticed Julia's careful steps, slightly uncertain, and how she'd swoop occasionally to make sure we were still together. It was clear that climbing wasn't exactly her comfort zone, but she kept smiling, determined not to slow us down. After about 2 hours, we reached a particularly steep section with a breathtaking view of the valley. Mike stopped at the top, snapping photos with his phone, while Julia stood back, slightly looking nervous about the sheer drop on one side. "Take your time," I said gently, stepping closer to her. "No rush." She gave me a grateful look, breathing deeply. "Thanks, Ethan." I watched carefully as she moved forward, cautiously navigating around a large boulder. Just as I began to follow her, a loose rock shifted beneath her foot. Time seemed to slow as I saw her lose her balance, eyes wide with panic, and begin sliding down the rocky slope. "Mom!" Mike shouted, his face pale, rushing to the edge. Instinctively, I lunged forward, grabbing at air. Julia managed to grasp a protruding rock halfway down the slope, her body pressing desperately against the cliffside, feet dangling dangerously. My heart pounded as I stared down at her. She was safe for now, but clearly stuck. "Ethan," Mike whispered urgently, grabbing my arm. "We need to call for help." I shook my head. There's no time. That ledge won't hold her weight for long. I glanced at Julia again. Her breathing was heavy, eyes closed tight in fear. Without thinking twice, I knelt down, tightening my shoelaces and stripping off my backpack. Ethan, no, Mike said sharply. It's too dangerous. Let's wait for help. But I couldn't wait. Julia was trembling, trying to stay calm. She opened her eyes just once, meeting mine with a look I couldn't ignore. In that moment, I knew I couldn't leave her there. I'll be careful, I promised Mike, squeezing his shoulder briefly. Trust me. Slowly, I began climbing down, feeling the rough edges of the rocks cut into my hands. Every inch was deliberate, careful. My heart pounded in my ears, but my focus was only on Julia. She had turned her head slightly, watching my descent, fear and relief mixing in her expression. Hold on, I said firmly, steadying my voice. I'm coming for you. Julia's eyes filled with tears, but she nodded bravely, holding my gaze with newfound trust. It was a look I had never seen from her before. Vulnerable, grateful, and somehow deeply personal. As I got closer, I realized just how precarious her position was. Her hands trembled, gripping desperately. I finally reached the ledge just above her, carefully placing one foot on a solid stone. I've got you, I said quietly, offering my hand down. Just take it slow. Julia reached up slowly, fingers brushing against mine, then gripping tightly. The connection felt electric, reassuring, real. Above us, Mike called out, his voice distant yet filled with relief. Please, just hold on. I didn't answer him. Instead, I focused on Julia, determined to keep my promise. Whatever came next, I knew I wouldn't let her fall. My hand gripped Julia's tightly, feeling her fingers tremble as her grip tightened desperately around mine. Beneath us, the mountainside plunged steeply downward, a dizzying drop that stole my breath for a moment. I had never considered myself fearless, but something about seeing Julia helplessly clinging to the cliff had stripped away any hesitation. There was no turning back now. I had to get her to safety, no matter the curtain. Julia, I need you to trust me, okay? My voice was firm but gentle. I had to remain calm, not just for her, but for both of us. Julia nodded slightly, her eyes wide with fear locked onto mine. Her normally calm, confident demeanor had shattered completely, leaving her vulnerable in a way I'd never imagined seeing. Okay, she whispered shakily, her voice barely audible above the wind rustling through the trees below. I trust you, Ethan. I felt a strange surge of strength hearing those words. Taking a deep breath, I steadied myself against the rough rock, carefully testing each foothold. Inch by inch, I maneuvered myself closer to her, trying to maintain my own balance while guiding her carefully upward. Every small movement felt monumental, each second stretching unbearably as we navigated the precarious cliffside. Just breathe, I reminded her gently. You're doing great. I'm right here. I don't know if I can do this, Julia admitted, her voice catching as tears formed at the corners of her eyes. I'm sorry, Ethan. I'm just so scared. You have nothing to apologize for, I reassured, reaching down to offer my other hand for extra support. We're in this together, just one step at a time. Okay? She met my gaze again, drawing strength from my words, her breathing growing steadier. Carefully, I guided her hands to firmer grips, letting her lean heavily against me as we began the slow climb back up the rocky slope. The world shrank down to just the two of us. Every other sound, even Mike's frantic calls from above, seemed distant and irrelevant. Midway up, we paused briefly, finding a narrow ledge barely wide enough for both of us to catch our breath. Julia pressed tightly against the rocky wall, her chest rising and falling in anxious waves. I stood close, offering silent reassurance as our shoulders touched lightly. The proximity made my heart race differently, not from fear, but from a sudden awareness of Julia that had never been this intense before. You're doing amazing, I whispered softly. We'll get out of this soon. She gave a weak smile, attempting bravery. I feel so silly for being scared. But I just froze, my mind went blank. Anyone would feel the same, I said honestly, keeping my voice calm. It's okay. She stared out across the valley for a moment, quiet as if gathering her thoughts. Her expression softened, turning introspective. You know, Ethan, moments like this make you think about your life, the choices you've made, the people you've let in, and the people you've let go. I glanced at her, sensing the depth of emotion beneath her words. Julia, whatever you're feeling, it's normal. She hesitated, her voice quieter. It's strange. Ever since my divorce, I've tried so hard to pretend I'm okay. Mike needs stability, so I put on a brave face. But the truth is, Ethan, I'm lonely. Really lonely. And sometimes I wonder if I'll ever find someone who genuinely sees me again. My heart twisted hearing the sadness in her voice. I had always admired Julia from afar, her warmth, her grace. But now I was seeing a completely different side of her, vulnerable, real, deeply human. Without thinking, I gently placed my hand over hers, feeling her tense slightly, before relaxing into the simple comfort of touch. You will find that I said softly, but firmly. You deserve someone who sees you, all of you. Anyone who doesn't deserve you. She turned her head, slightly gazing at me with eyes filled with emotion. Gratitude mixed with something deeper I couldn't quite place. You know, Ethan, I think you see me clearer than anyone has in a very long time. Before I could respond, Mike's voice echoed down urgently from above. Guys, hang tight. I can't reach you. I'm going to get help. We looked up simultaneously. Our conversation interrupted the harsh reality of our situation flooding back. Mike had disappeared from view, undoubtedly running back down the trail to find help. We were alone again, still suspended precariously between safety and the abyss. We should try to get higher, I suggested gently. There's a wider ledge up ahead. We'll wait there for the rescue team. Julia nodded slowly, gathering her courage again. Carefully, we resumed our climb, me guiding her every move, her reliance on me becoming even more apparent with each careful step. It took almost all the strength I had, but finally we reached a slightly broader shelf of rock, offering temporary relief from the relentless vertical challenge. Julia sank down onto the ledge, exhaling heavily. I lowered myself next to her, feeling the rough stone through my jeans as we sat side by side. Silence fell between us, not awkward but meaningful, a shared acknowledgement of what we just endured. Julia's breathing gradually steadied, and I sensed some calm returning to her. You know, she finally said, her voice steady, yet contemplative. I never expected today to turn out like this. Me neither, I agreed, a small smile forming despite our surroundings. But we're okay. We made it this far. She nodded, eyes studying my face carefully. Thanks to you. Her gaze lingered, unspoken emotions passing between us. It felt as though something significant had shifted in that moment. Jalea was no longer merely Mike's mom, someone older and distant. She was Julia, a woman who had entrusted me with her safety, her vulnerabilities, and perhaps more quietly, her heart. We sat in comfortable silence, waiting for the distant sound of rescue. Julia moved slightly closer, seeking warmth or comfort, and our shoulders brushed softly. She didn't pull away. Instead, she allowed the gentle contact to remain, creating an unexpected intimacy between us. I glanced sideways, catching Julia watching me again, but her expression had softened completely, no longer. Just relief, but something warmer, more profound. Her eyes sparkled gently and a small, genuine smile curved her lips. I feel safe with you, Ethan, she murmured, almost to herself, as though finally admitting something important. My heart skipped, warmth spreading through my chest. The cliff, the fear, the uncertainty all faded slightly. What remained was a quiet realization, those subtle beginnings of something neither of us had anticipated. As the sun began to lower, casting golden light across the valley, we continued to sit side by side, each heartbeat reminding me how close we had become. Danger still loomed around us. But right then, Julia's presence made everything else seem manageable. In that precarious space trapped between earth and sky, I knew something had changed forever. The days following our dramatic rescue from Panirage Mountain passed by in a surreal blur. Rescue workers had eventually managed to locate us, guiding Julia and me safely back to solid ground. Mike's relieved shouts had filled the air as he embraced his mother, thanking me repeatedly for saving her life. But despite his sincere gratitude, Mike remained blissfully unaware of the subtle yet seismic shift that had occurred between Julia and me on that narrow mountain ledge. Returning home felt oddly mundane after the intense experience we'd shared. Everything appeared unchanged, yet I felt as though nothing would ever be the same again. Julia's gaze lingered longer when she looked at me, now softer, warmer, carrying an intimacy we hadn't openly acknowledged but both clearly felt. I found myself restless at night, replaying our conversations, unable to shake the image of Julia's vulnerable expression from my mind. Her words echoed repeatedly, I feel safe with you. It wasn't just gratitude or friendship anymore. My heart raced whenever I remembered the way she had leaned into me, quietly trusting. I tried to dismiss these feelings as simply the aftermath of adrenaline, but deep down I knew it was more than that. One afternoon, while I was lost in thought, my phone buzzed unexpectedly. "Ethan, could we talk sometime? I'd really like to thank you properly for everything you have done." Julia, my heart sped up immediately. Without hesitation, I agreed, suggesting dinner at a quiet little cafe near my apartment. When she accepted instantly, my stomach twisted in excitement and uncertainty. Our first dinner was supposed to be a simple thank you, but sitting across from Julia, I quickly realized it wasn't just an ordinary evening. She wore a simple blue dress that accentuated her elegance, and the soft glow of candlelight illuminated her features beautifully. The conversation flowed easily, shifting naturally from casual topics to deeper thoughts. "Ethan, I haven't stopped thinking about that day," Julia admitted softly, setting her fork down. "I thought I was ready for everything life could throw at me, but I wasn't." Her voice trembled slightly, eyes sincere yet hesitant. I leaned closer instinctively. "You showed incredible strength, Julia. Most people would have panicked completely." She smiled gently, shaking her head. "No, you were the strong one. You made me feel safe. Truly safe for the first time in a long while." I swallowed hard at feeling a warmth spreading through my chest. I just did what felt right. Julia reached across the table, softly placing her hand over mine. It was much more than that. Her touch sent a quiet thrill through me, the intimacy surprising yet comforting. After dinner, as we walked slowly back toward her car, the cool evening air seemed to whisper around us, charged with unspoken feelings. In the weeks that followed, dinners together gradually became a routine no longer framed as mere gratitude, but as genuine time spent together. Mike, occupied with classes and social life, barely noticed how frequently his mother and I met. Julia opened up to me during these quiet evenings, revealing layers she'd hidden beneath her composed exterior. She shared stories of her divorce, painful memories she'd never fully voiced before. I felt invisible. She confessed one evening, eyes reflecting deep sadness. "After so long, you begin to believe no one will ever truly see you again." "I see you, Julia," I responded quietly, my voice gentle yet firm. "You're the strongest, kindest woman I've known. You deserve someone who appreciates every bit of that." Her eyes met mine, and a quiet intensity lingered between us, more powerful each time it happened. Despite my growing feelings, I found myself caught between guilt and longing. Julia was Mike's mom. There were lines I shouldn't cross, yet the heart rarely cared about lines or logic. Late one evening, unable to sleep, I found myself at Julia's doorstep. She opened the door quickly, surprise and warmth clear in her expression. "Ethan, is everything okay?" "I couldn't stop thinking," I admitted sheepishly. "Can I come in?" She stepped aside, welcoming me into the familiar comfort of her living room. We sat closely on the couch, silence stretching between us at first. "I've struggled with this. I began quietly feeling these things I shouldn't. But Julia, every moment we spend together feels right, and I don't know what to do about it." Julia sighed softly, leaning her head back against the cushions. "I know exactly how you feel. I've fought myself too, but I can't deny how happy I am when I'm with you. You make me feel alive again, Ethan." Her honesty took my breath away, confirming that what we shared wasn't just one-sided, yet still uncertainty clouded my thoughts. "Mike might not understand," I whispered, voicing my greatest fear. Julia nodded slowly, contemplatively. "He might not, but Ethan, I spent years trying to make everyone else happy while ignoring my own heart. I'm tired of feeling invisible. For once, I want something real, even if it's complicated." We sat quietly together, absorbing the weight of her admission. Julia shifted slightly, turning to face me more fully. Her eyes searched mine with newfound bravery, the same courage I'd glimpsed that day on the mountain. "Ethan, I've come to realize something important. You're not just Mike's friend to me anymore. You're someone I deeply care about in ways I didn't expect." My pulse quickened as her words sank in. Joy, fear, and uncertainty battled fiercely within me. But above all, hope bloomed strongly in my chest. "I care about you too, Julia." I replied softly, honesty saturating every word, more than I ever thought possible. She smiled gently, visibly relieved by my response. Her hand found mine again, fingers intertwining effortlessly. For a long moment, we simply existed together, letting ourselves accept the quiet reality of our connection. It felt fragile yet profoundly right. I don't want to lose this. Julia finally whispered, her voice steady but vulnerable. I don't want to lose you. You won't, I assured firmly, holding her gaze confidently. We'll figure this out together step by step. Julia's expression softened, completely reflecting trust and gratitude. Slowly, she leaned closer, resting her head on my shoulder. We remained that way, wrapped in quiet intimacy, allowing ourselves the luxury of acknowledging our feelings openly. That night marked a significant turning point. No longer did I see Julia as merely Mike's mother. She was Julia, a woman whose strength, vulnerability, and heart had captured mine completely. As I drove home later, my mind raced with 1,000 thoughts, fears, and dreams. But amidst the chaos was clarity. Julie and I had crossed into uncharted territory, something beautiful yet uncertain. Our relationship had undeniably changed forever. And while the path ahead might be complicated, I knew with certainty that she was worth every risk. The night after Julia confessed her feelings to me, I knew exactly what I had to do. My heart was racing, my nerves frayed, but the decision had been made. Mike was my closest friend, and he deserved honesty. I couldn't keep hiding the truth. We agreed to meet at a small park near our neighborhood. I arrived early, pacing nervously, my mind rehearsing how to start. When Mike finally appeared, his casual demeanor made my chest tighten with guilt. Hey man, he greeted with a friendly smile. What's up? I hesitated for just a moment before plunging ahead. Mike, I need to talk to you about something serious. His expression instantly changed, concern shadowing his face. Yeah, sure, you okay? Yeah, well, mostly. I paused, taking a deep breath. This is about your mom. Mike's brows knitted, confusion evident. Mom, what about her? She's okay, right? She's fine, I quickly reassured. It's just ever since what happened on the mountain, things changed between us. We've been spending a lot of time together, and I trailed off, searching his face anxiously. I think I've fallen for her, Mike. I didn't plan it. It just happened. Mike's eyes widened, shock quickly replaced by disbelief and anger. Are you serious right now, Ethan? You and my mom? Come on, man. Tell me you're kidding. I wish I was, I said quietly, maintaining steady eye contact. I care about her deeply, more than I ever thought possible. Mike shook his head sharply, frustration clear. That's my mother, Ethan. She's practically family to you. How could you? I know how complicated this is. I acknowledged gently, the voice calm, despite the turmoil inside. I fought against these feelings, Mike, but it's real, and she feels the same. She deserves happiness after everything she's been through. Mike paced away, clearly battling conflicting emotions. Silence stretched tensely between us. Eventually, he turned back, his voice quieter. She never talks much about how lonely she is. I guess I never really thought about her needing someone, especially you. It caught us both off guard, I admitted sincerely. We never wanted to hurt you, Mike. He sighed heavily, running a hand through his hair. Look, Ethan, this is a lot to take in. I need time to process. I don't know right now. I understand, I said earnestly. Take all the time you need. The following weeks were strained. Julie and I decided it was best to step back temporarily. We avoided seeing each other, afraid of causing Mike further pain. Yet despite my determination to keep distance, Julia occupied every thought, every quiet moment out alone. The longing felt unbearable. One evening, as I sat alone on my porch staring blankly at the stars, footsteps approached quietly. I turned quickly, hard skipping, when I recognized Julia standing there, soft moonlight illuminating her gentle expression. Can I join you? She asked quietly. Always, I replied. Instantly, feeling a relief flood my chest. She sat beside me, a careful distance, maintained but eyes warm with quiet longing. Mike came to talk to me today. She began softly. He's confused, but he understands now. He said he wants me to be happy. Relief and cautious hope surged inside me. He's a good guy. He'll come around eventually. She nodded, eyes filled with tenderness. Ethan, I've missed you so much. I never thought being away from you would be this hard. I've missed you too, I admitted gently, looking deeply into her eyes every second. We sat in thoughtful silence for a moment, the night air cool yet comforting around us. Finally, Julia spoke again, her voice filled with determination. Maybe we don't need to rush this, Ethan. I want us to take it slow to be careful, but I also can't pretend these feelings don't exist. I don't want to hide anymore. Neither do I. I responded softly, my heart beating fiercely. I want to see where this goes, Julia. Together, she smiled gently, visibly relaxing the weight of uncertainty, slowly lifting from her shoulders. I feel the same. I'm scared, but I trust you, Ethan. You've always made me feel safe. Over the following weeks, we allowed ourselves to grow closer again cautiously, but sincerely. We met openly, no longer hiding behind vague excuses. Mike gradually accepted our relationship, still adjusting, but ultimately supportive, seeing his mother's happiness as something he truly wanted. As autumn arrived, bringing crisp air and golden leaves, Julie and I often took long walks through the quiet neighborhood, talking softly about life dreams and possibilities. On one particular evening, the sunset painted the sky with vivid oranges and pinks, the atmosphere beautifully calm. Julia suddenly paused, turning towards me with gentle resolve. Taking a deep breath, she reached out, intertwining her fingers gently with mine. Ethan. She started quietly, looking directly into my eyes. Whatever happens from here, I just want you to know how grateful I am for you. You've changed everything for me. You rescued me not just from a cliff, but from loneliness, from giving up on love completely. Emotions swelled within me, powerful and overwhelming. Julia, you saved me too, in ways you'll never fully know. You've shown me that love can exist beyond expectations, beyond limits. She smiled, eyes shining with warmth and hope. Maybe we won't know exactly what the future holds, Ethan, but right now this feels right. Being here with you feels real. I squeezed her hand gently, feeling an overwhelming sense of peace and clarity. That's all we need right now. Just us here together. We stood quietly side by side, watching the fading colors of the sunset melt slowly into twilight. The world felt wide open, filled with unknown possibilities and uncertainties. But in that moment, none of it mattered. All that mattered was the truth of our feelings, the courage to embrace something unexpected and real. As darkness settled gently around us, Julia leaned softly into my shoulder, her quiet sigh content and serene. It felt like a new beginning filled with promise, yet no guarantees, a beautiful uncertainty. The future stretched ahead, unclear but vibrant, awaiting our choice to bravely step forward. We didn't know exactly where this path would take us, but we knew one undeniable truth. We had each other. And sometimes that's all you. In the heart of this tale, where a simple hike turns into a life-altering rescue, lies a profound lesson about the transformative power of courage and vulnerability in the face of unexpected love. Ethan, a young man driven by instinct and kindness, doesn't just save Julia from a perilous cliff. He unwittingly rescues her from the quiet abyss of loneliness that had shadowed her life since her divorce. Julia, a woman who had built walls of grace and self-reliance to protect her son Mike and herself, finds in Ethan's unwavering trust a beacon of hope, a reminder that true connection often blooms in the most precarious moments. Their story teaches us that life rarely follows the scripts we write. Instead, it thrusts us into situations where our hearts must choose between fear and authenticity. Imagine clinging to a ledge, not just physically, but emotionally, and realizing that opening up to someone, despite age differences, societal expectations, or potential heartbreak, can lead to profound healing and joy. It's a poignant nudge to all of us in our own lives. We too may be teetering on edges of isolation, hesitating to reach out or accept help. But as Ethan and Julia show, embracing impulsiveness with empathy can forge bonds that redefine our worlds, proving that love isn't bound by timelines or conventions. It whispers that loneliness isn't a life sentence. It's an invitation to be seen, to be brave. This narrative stirs the soul, urging us to reflect on our own unspoken longings and the risks worth taking for genuine happiness. What about you? Have you ever found love or friendship in an unexpected rescue? Share your stories in the comments below. I'd love to hear how this resonates with you. And if this touched your heart, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more inspiring tales that remind us of life's beautiful uncertainties. Your support means the world. Let's build a community of hope together.